great.
Hold on, I got to take the trash out.
Yeah, right. Stuff like that. And there are adults that put YouTube stuff on there too, but the kids are the most entertaining these days. So
That's fun, I have to admit. And I'm really actually very amazed at what they know at such a young age.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it just blows me away. So just
it's
imagine
humbling.
what they're going to be at 20 and 30. Yeah,
Serious.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, the last one I'm going to talk about is is running. Okay, so you have virtual machines running on your desktop. Okay, that's fine for testing something, or if I want to sit there and play around with different operating systems. But how could I really use this as a functional piece of equipment at my place of business, or if I wanted to just have something running out of my home instead of having it run on my virtual machine, or my virtual on my desktop as a virtual machine? Well, this is something that I actually stumbled across from another podcast that I've watched. It's actually from a podcast called Hack 5. That's actually, I've got different podcasts also on my website at jagear.com. And these podcasts, one's called Hack 5. And of course, you talked about This Week in Tech before, Twit. But on Hack 5, they talked about something that was called Proxmox.
Okay.
I have been blown away by the power that Proxmox has. What it allows you to do is it allows you to take let's say you have an old production server, and that old production server has, it just doesn't have a lot of space left. It's running out of room, and it's still running on a 1 gigahertz processor or whatever the case may be, and you need to give it some new life, but you can't just reinstall that server and try to bring everything over. There's too many years of patches and everything else that you've tweaked it to a certain point.
Right.
What you can do is you could make a Proxmox server. And by the way, make it a beefy machine like dual core, quad core, 8 gigs of RAM, that kind of thing. But just get a machine with enough, disk space and RAM in it. And you can actually create virtual servers on that one machine. And you could take, and there's instructions on how to do this at Proxmox, and there's a very, very good wiki page that they have. But it allows you to be able to take and virtualize everything from the server or a Windows 7 desktop, anything that you can think of that you can do. You could take an image of that one or create a desktop or server and be able to utilize it. I know it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. It took me a little bit to figure this one out. But imagine this. This is what I'm doing in my office, what I talked about at the very beginning of the show. We have a bunch of old machines that are there, started from 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and they're running Windows XP, and they're running okay. They're running on, a gig of RAM maybe, and they're chugging along. But we have certain mandates that we have to bring everybody over to Windows 7. Well, the cost factor is if you figure out, let's just throw out a number here, $500 a machine, multiply that times 100 users, you're talking about $50,000 that the companies has to spend just to be able to do that.
Right.
And so we could slowly roll that out and, 3, 4, 5 machines a month or whatever. Well, I came across this thing, and I was able to actually create a Windows 7 virtual machine, install the appropriate software for that particular department. Then I go to the person's desktop and I do a remote desktop connection, which Windows XP has built into it. Boom. Now they are running fast, lean, and I haven't changed their hardware one bit, and they're running a full-blown version of Windows 7. The only cost I had was the license for Windows 7, and that was it. And I could put 10, 20 people on one machine, on one server.
Wow, I'm trying to wrap my wits around it.
It takes a little bit. It took me a couple of reads and everything else about it. But
so you're running 7 on a separate box, Windows 7 on a separate box.
I'm running multiple copies of Windows 7 for each person. So let's say if I have 10 people, I have 10 virtual machines of Windows 7 running. Each one is tweaked to that own person. Their own Outlook is set up, or Thunderbird or whatever.
You set up separate installations, and then how do you implement them? You just their terminal, their computer that they're using is just a dummy terminal. That's just
that's exactly what it becomes now. It becomes a dumb terminal that allows you to do everything that you can. The only thing, and Proxmox is working on this right now, is you can do remote printing, you can print, you can listen to music, stream YouTube, all that other stuff. Because don't forget, everything is going to be sitting in the server room. You're just sitting at your dumb terminal. You can do everything. The only thing you can't do is USB yet. You can't plug a USB into your PC and it sees it. Not yet.
Man, that's
Not
so
yet.
that's such a little probably eating away at them trying to figure that out.
Well, there's actually a program, a company that came out. I'm trying to remember it right now. That is selling a package that does that. I haven't gotten that far yet.
Really, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So it's really neat. Just to give you an idea, I am currently running about 10 users with Windows 7 on 6-year-old machines. Some of the machines have only 128 megs of RAM. I just did it as a test. I had this old box sitting there. I said, I wonder if. There's Fat, Dumb, and Happy.
Really?
They don't know any better. And so we're able to reuse old machines that were doorstops, and it's a dumb terminal, and they are running fast.
Really?
And they're loving it.
That is pretty cool, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Proxmox.
Proxmox, yeah. And it like I said, it takes a little bit to learn, and you can install it on an older machine just to try it out first. But if you want to put it in a production environment, I highly recommend that you get a quad core, at least 8 gigs of RAM.
Right.
Oh, sorry. Can I throw one more thing on there?
Yes.
With Proxmox, the beauty of it is, and this is something again that I learned from Hack 5 with Darren Kitchen, you can cluster them. So now all of a sudden I have my 10 users, my 20 users on one server, and they're chugging away, and that processor is just getting hit.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I need to expand this thing.
Right.
I build another Proxmox server. It has built-in clustering in it, so I could cluster the two together. Now, all of a sudden that I'm peaked on here, now they just even out and they share all the load. So now I'm running on an 8-core, 16 gigs of RAM. You get the idea. I just doubled everything because I put the two servers together.
And
you can do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7
servers. And they
plus.
recognize each other, and one of them just allows it to use the other's resources. That's called clustering?
Yes. That's called clustering.
Okay. Damn, that's awesome.
Beautiful thing built into it.
Very cool, man. All right.
Yeah.
You just got to get some. You just got to get some kick-ass machines that can handle like 10 7 installations. Like,
I'm running. I'll tell you this right now. I bought, and by the way, I'm a big Newegg fan. If anybody is purchasing stuff, please use the link that Steve has on his site, because every time I purchase something for my company, I try to kick back something for him going through the Podnutz/Newegg.
Yes, definitely.
Podnutz.com/Newegg.
Excuse me. That's it. Thank you for that plug.
But it's I bought a system just to give you guys an idea. This quad core system with 8 gigs of RAM, and at the time I only bought a 500 gig hard drive because I wasn't sure how far this was actually going to go.
Right.
I purchased all that. I didn't break $500.
And how many machines are running on it?
Right now, I can go all the way up to 20 machines are running. Right now, I have 10 machines that are running on it.
Wow!
And I'm not even killing it because these users are not high-end users.
Right.
They're the average users in the company. They're not doing. I mean, it's not for everybody. But if you have 80% of your people and all they do are 3 things all day long, I'm not saying just 3 things, but they do the same 3 things over and over again. They go to the internet, they open an application, and you know, I can't think of something else.
No,
but you get
I
the
gotcha. So are you going to use this as a permanent solution?
Already is.
For this,
I'm testing it. Yeah.
I'm
sorry, I interrupted you.
That's right. For the Windows 7 switchover, that's what you're going to be using probably.
I've been testing it now. It's I'm on my 4th week, and
no problem.
The only complaint has been, and I'm still trying to figure this one out. I've actually read about some of these on the forums. The only complaint that I have is that the very first time, in the very first part of the morning when you connect to it, it could take between 30 seconds to a minute before that remote desktop connection actually shows your desktop. Once you're in, it's just blazing along. So I got to figure out what that little hiccup is. But it is not a deal breaker in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, that's definitely not a deal breaker.
No, but I know Darren Kitchen went all the way up to 25 people on his quad core. Yeah. But they were doing a test where they were trying to hack actually into the. That's a different kind of podcast, but it's entertaining anyway.
I like it. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I used to like it. A lot of stuff actually went over my head on that show too. But
me too. Yeah, these guys talk stuff that I'm like, Huh?
They're
So
geeky. You know,
they
I like Darren Kitchen. I wish he would be. He does TNT on the Twit Network a lot, as he always sits in. I wish he would just replace Sarah Lane. I'm going on an anti-Sarah Lane campaign again.
I haven't been a big fan of Sarah Lane way back when she was dating
Kevin Rose.
Kevin Rose, yeah. So
Yeah, not much
did
there.
you hear that Kevin Rose is leaving Dig, by the way?
Really? I guess it's about time.
Yeah, I just heard that today. Yeah, he's made his money and now he's moving on to bigger and better things.
Good.
I admire him. Kevin Rose has really done very well, and I mean, he doesn't show it at all or anything. I remember him back in the days, 6-7 years ago when he first started, and he was the black tipper or the dark tipper, excuse me, and he was he's come a long way and done very well for himself. So I'm proud of him. He's done good.
Good for him. No, I'm happy for him too. He made a lot of money.
Yeah.
All right. Let's read some emails. What do you say?
Sure, sounds great.
All right, this is from Ian. He says, "Hello, everybody from Ian from Connecticut here." Okay, let me pull this computer closer to me so I'm not messing up everybody's emails here. Ian from Connecticut here. I go by DKM Repairs on the forum, but my website is beltech.com. That's BELTECK.com. I got to look into changing my member name if that's possible at some point. It's no big deal. I've been listening to you guys on and off for a few years now. I've only been using computers for the past 6 or 7 years. I'm 27 now. I started with an eMac for film editing and eventually got an Acer laptop. I've always been in the field of repair in the past with cars, so fixing things has become a passion. I grew to hate turning wrenches and landed a job at a software company last year. I'm just a manufacturing goon right now, but I still get exposed to a mixture of boring paperwork and the occasional computer repair. I've been doing computer repairs for the past year on the side, mostly for friends and a few referrals. I'm not pursuing using AdWords or getting really aggressive with advertising yet because I haven't built up enough confidence in my technical knowledge. If somebody's willing to let me take a machine home, I'm almost always willing to take it because I have access to helpful forums like Podnutz and Bleeping Computer. Not to mention how upset you would be if you were paying a quote professional to fix your PCs and he's Googling the problem. Ian, let me stop you here. That is how professionals are made. I'm telling you.
Yep.
I would feel no shame if you went ahead and took jobs and Googled the hell out of how to fix them, because if you're confident that you could figure it out, you're a professional, dude. You should just do it. That's how you learn. So just don't give their machine back until it's fixed. I would have no problem with that. Actually,
that's exactly it.
Okay, anyway, he goes on to say, anyways, one of my biggest and most common requests is usually PC tune-ups. I know there's many approaches to this, and I feel like mine needs an overhaul. I'd love to hear if you guys have a set procedure on it, on a case-by-case basis. Me, personally, I would love to pop in a USB stick loaded with things like super anti-spyware, rkill, malwarebytes, CCleaner. I also look to disable anything that isn't of dire importance from opening at startup. I will run through the list of pre-installed programs in the control panel, uninstall anything not needed. I'm working from my apartment, but I will run a disk check and defrag. But if you're sitting in a customer's house, would you guys really sit through the whole process? I seem to do different things if I'm in front of a customer versus sitting at home working on it. I'm not sure if this is normal. One other thing I'm very unsure about, and maybe the entire reason I'm not putting 100% effort yet, is cloning. I've talked to a few. There you go, Clonezilla. I've talked to a few. Yeah. I've talked to a few guys who will actually clone the customer's PCs before touching anything in case something horrible happens, but is this overkill? I recently burnt a copy of Hiron's boot CD and was going to try to learn how to clone using xxclone utility. Can you guys elaborate on that a bit? Anyway, sorry for making this so long, but I really appreciate all the info you guys churn out every week, and it's bailed me out of many problems. Please keep up the great work, and I hope one day I will become knowledgeable and experienced enough to come on as a guest. Ian from beltech.com. Ian, thanks for the email. Definitely like to have you on as a guest. Let's go through a couple points here. I haven't done it for a while, but my procedure for cleaning up at the shop was it was pretty straightforward. And there's no cookie cutter way to do it for every machine. You can't just slap a USB drive in and everything just happen perfectly every time. Computers are very different. Computers are nuts in their own little minds, so you got to figure out what's wrong with that particular one and fix it. I used to do like you said. I would open up MS-config. I would turn off anything that didn't need to start up. I would turn it off, make sure it didn't start up. I'd run Malwarebytes. I'd run CCleaner first, then Malwarebytes, and then, I think I ran a program called Smit Fraud Fix back in the day. And that was pretty much to get things rolling. And then I would see if there's any specialized things I needed to do as far as, like, now what's really going on with this machine. Because after those programs ran their course, then you could see what what actual specific things you need to do for that machine. But there's tons of tools. Combo Fix, super nice spyware. I haven't used XX Clone. We'll talk about that in a bit. Let's just see what Joe's, if Joe has a method like I just described. What's your normal way to do things, Joe?
Yeah,